What's up everyone, it's Jinxed here. Remember back in the Yu-Gi-Oh days where you can get something called a starter pack? This was a great way to get you into the game and start learning about card synergies. Well, today I'm going to be showing you the starter pack of Teamfight Tactics Set 3.5. This is a powerful build, yet easy enough to maneuver where you can start learning about all the synergies and having fun. Let's take a look. This is the starter pack of Teamfight Tactics Set 3.5. Now, before we get started, if you end up enjoying this video, you like my energy, you like the information, make sure to subscribe, like, hit that notification bell. It's just so you know when my next video goes live. Now, we're going to be going through a lot of variations, so let me know which variation was your favorite in the comments below. So here, we're starting with the foundation of the build. 4 Brawler, 4 Battlecast, 2 Blaster, and with the Protector Spat, you can add that on Cassiopeia, alongside with the blue buff, and makes her a monster frontline unit. But it all starts off with 2 Blaster. That's what this whole build revolves around. And there's so many variations, but this one is what will allow you to get to that late game and easily swap out units based on your lobby. In this specific variation, you're going to look to eventually replace the Kog'Maw. That's why we have these Jinx. Why do we have red buff Giant Slayer on Kog'Maw? Isn't it better on Jinx? She's a 4 cost. Yes, it is, but we do get the Kog'Maw earlier than we get the Jinx, so Kog'Maw is our item holder. Eventually, in this specific variation, you can look to get a replacement Kog'Maw, so we can transfer those items over, and we add in the Kog'Maw, the extra Kog'Maw we've been collecting on the bench. From this point on, you can look into add in Chrono at level 9 in the Thresh, pulling in Lulu, Blitzcrank, all the good stuff, or you can just look to go add in the Lulu for the Mystic buff. Let's take a look at some of the other late game variations though. The way we're going to be doing it today is I'm going to show you all of the variations, and then we're going to talk about how we get there, because this is such a flexible build. So here we have the Mystic variation. This is for lobbies where you're surrounded by 2 to 3 sorcerer players. Maybe you have a Darkstar player that's carrying the Xerath. So you're trying to negate all of that magic damage. Now I quickly just want to reiterate on the items. The only core items are red buff and the Giant Slayer. After that, you're looking to base your third item depending on the lobby. If you're finding that you're not having much trouble with defenses, go ahead and slap on the Runon. If you feel like you're dying to infiltrators, then let's make sure we get that Guardian Angel. If Urgot is a problem and stuff of the like, then that's where you can look to get that Trap Claw, as Trap Claw currently is the only counter to Urgot. Now from this point on, this is beautiful. You can just look to add in any spatula variations that you get. Right? So if you get the Battlecast spatula, you can go ahead and add that on Israel. If you get the Celestial Spat, you can add that to anyone. It doesn't really matter. Darkstar isn't as important because the best holder here of Darkstar would be Jinx. But if we think about it, Karma is going to die so late into the fight that Darkstar isn't really going to benefit our Jinx. And then from this point on, level 9, you're literally just looking to add in any 5 cost unit. Again, just keeping on the topic of spatulas, if you do end up adding the level 9 Janna, then you can go ahead and look to get the Star Guardian spatula on the Lulu. Beautiful combination there. Now here we have an extreme late game variation in the condition in which you have found the Malphite instead of the Illaoi. From this point on at level 9, you can look to add in the Rebels and Aurelion Soul. It's actually a really powerful unit now with the changes to its ultimate draining mana. And then these 2 units are basically interchangeable. They can be anything. If you need Mystics, you go 2 Mystics with Lulu and Soraka. Otherwise, feel free to just go for that 4 Chrono buff, adding in a little bit more frontline. And again, Thresh pulling in Lulu, Blitzcrank, Soraka, that stuff. Really great late game variation here. Now last but not least, we have an Astro variation. Astro isn't needed as much because Gnar, once you get him 2-starred and throw in a tanky item like Redemption or Frozen Heart, he'll always be able to get that ultimate off regardless of Astro. But this isn't the case that you get an early Nautilus, so you can utilize the Vanguard synergy early on. So instead of doing 4 Brawler, we're just doing 2 Brawler, 2 Vanguard. Now again, here we can, in the late game, just look to add in any missing synergy, and it's usually going to be the 5 costs, right? We're looking to either do the Urgot or the Lulu. Now that you have a good understanding of the late game variations, I want to talk about the early game and some of the strongest builds that you can use to get to that mid-late game. Now, if you have any questions about leveling or economy, I do have a set 3 fundamentals of economy and leveling guide. I'm going to put that down in the description below. Now, in the early game, these are the synergies you're looking to prioritize: Battlecast, Blaster, and Brawler. The 2 main units are going to be Kog'Maw and Illaoi. From this point on, it's free for all. Any Blaster is fine, any Brawler is fine. Up next, you're looking to go into Chrono synergy with our Blitzcrank. And this is where you can utilize the Israel. It can be a Twisted Fate, Caitlyn. Just get that Chrono synergy in. Now, if you look in this specific variation, I'm at 3 Blaster, 3 Brawler. You can definitely drop one or the other to get to 4. So for example, if you have a Lucian, then we can go ahead, let me just find the Lucian here. He's right here. You can go ahead and drop off the Malphite to get 4 Blasters. Now, a quick note on 4 Blasters, if some of you are wondering, you're never going to be using this in the late game. Never 4, you're always going to be dropping down to 2, as 4 is just not needed. You'd rather just add in utility or just tankier units. And the same thing can be said for the other variation. Let's put the Malphite back in. Let's say you find the Vi at this point, then go ahead, throw that in over the Graves, and now you can utilize the 4 Brawlers. Now we're starting to get into the mid game, that level 7, and this is a great variation you can use if you came across the Lucian rather than Graves or Israel. So in this case, you can add in Cybernetics with Vi and Leona. It can be Fiora as well. This is not a big deal. And a quick note on positioning. In the early to mid stages, you always want to keep your units bunched up in a corner. Why? This is so good against infiltrators. Because infiltrators jump fast now, they will always be landing on your brawlers up here. Plus, your brawlers do still split aggro as they walk up. The Blitzcrank is up here, so Vi dies, Malphite dies, Blitzcrank dies. The Leona will be walking up because Illaoi is walking up as well. The only thing this is not good against is stuff like Gnar and Gangplank. But if we think about those 2 units, they don't usually come around until that level 8 and sometimes level 9. So early mid game, keep your units bunched up. As you get into, the Gnars start popping around the GPs, that's when you want to start spreading out your units. Now, in terms of what items to give to your cybernetics, the Lucian and Leona can literally just hold any component, because those components you can make them into whatever. So if you have the trap clock components, throw one on Lucian, one on Leona, finish that trap clock later off to give to your Jinx, as these will be getting replaced. Now, in terms of Vi is the best holder of Ionic Spark, and Ionic Spark will help your Jinx get resets once we get her online. Now, from this point on, you're just looking to replace your weak units with stronger units. Did you find an Israel? Let's go ahead and throw in the Israel. Is Jinx showing up? Let's go and get in the Jinx. You can swap those items over. Did you find the Cassiopeia? Well, go ahead and play the Battlecast variations if you have decent items to support her as well. Are you looking to use that Israel that you found early on? Then go ahead into the Rebel variation if you had the Malphite. Do you need Mystics? Great, use the Mystics. Are you finding the Vanguards? We can go ahead and use the Vanguards. Now, I don't want you asking me, but Jinx, which one's the best one? What's the best? Sometimes you can't always choose which variation you're going to play, and you will have to deal with what the game is giving you. Stay flexible. The 2 key things are having 2 blasters, red buff, Giant Slayer. After that, the world is your oyster. And with that, it brings us to the end of the video. I'll see you guys in the next one.